My name is James. I'm 75 now, and most mornings, I feel grateful just to open my eyes and see another sunrise. But I won't lie to you, not all mornings feel good. For a long time, I'd wake up, drag myself to the kitchen, sip some coffee, and still feel like my energy was slipping through my fingers by 10 in the morning. I thought it was just age catching up with me, but I was wrong. There was one habit, one small thing I was doing every single morning before breakfast that was silently draining my energy. And I'm not the only one. A lot of folks over 70 are doing it too, without realizing the toll it takes on the body and the spirit. I didn't learn this from a doctor right away, or from a wellness book, or even from my old friend at church. It was a mix of experience, prayer, and a verse from Isaiah that finally opened my eyes. So if you've been waking up tired, sluggish, or just not yourself lately, stay with me. Because today, I'm going to share 5 simple truths, backed by biblical wisdom and good sense, that can help you stop draining your energy first thing in the morning. These aren't just tips. They're habits that restored my mornings, sharpened my mind, and reminded me that even in old age, God still has work for us to do. Before we dive in, I want to ask something simple. If this kind of message is a blessing to you, would you subscribe to this channel, give the video a like, and share it with someone who might need it too? It helps more than you know, and it lets me keep speaking from the heart right here with you. Let's begin. Some mornings, the smallest choices shape our entire day. Before we even think, we move in patterns we've carried for years. But not every old habit is harmless, especially the ones that sneak into our mornings without a second thought. I remember visiting Carol last spring. She's 82, still lives on her own, and has the warmest smile you've ever seen. But when I sat with her at breakfast, I noticed something. Before touching any water or food, she reached straight for her second cup of coffee. Her hands trembled slightly as she poured it, and by mid-morning, she always complained of feeling dizzy, foggy, or strangely anxious. I guess it's just age, she'd laugh. But it wasn't. Starting the morning with caffeine before water, or nourishment, is one of the most common mistakes we make after 70. Our bodies wake up in a state of gentle dehydration. Overnight, we've lost fluids through breathing, and our cells are craving hydration to restart. When we skip that first glass of water and rush straight to a stimulant like coffee, we confuse the body. Instead of supporting energy, we spike stress hormones and tax the heart, kidneys, and brain. What feels like an energy boost is often just a disguised crash waiting to happen. There's a reason the Bible speaks of water so often as a symbol of life and renewal. Isaiah 44 says, "For I will pour water on the thirsty land and streams on the dry ground. I will pour out my spirit on your offspring." That same promise applies to our bodies too. God didn't design us to begin our day with tension. He designed us to be refreshed. Now, Carol starts her day with a full glass of water and a quiet moment of prayer before the kettle even sings. And she tells me her mornings feel lighter, her head clearer, her heart calmer. It didn't take a miracle, just a change of rhythm and a bit more kindness to the body God gave her. And that brings me to the next draining habit, one that hides in plain sight right on our nightstands. Most people don't even realize it's stealing their energy before they've taken a single step out of bed. It happens without thinking. The alarm goes off, or the light peeks through the curtain, and before our feet touch the floor, our hand is already reaching for the phone. A quick check of the time turns into emails, news, messages, and scrolling through images of other people's lives. And just like that, our day begins with noise. My neighbor George, 78, used to joke that his phone was his morning companion. He'd check the headlines before brushing his teeth, read health warnings before breakfast, and scroll through updates about people he hadn't spoken to in years. But behind the smile, George often felt anxious, tired, and burdened by 10 in the morning. One day over coffee, he admitted something that stayed with me. "I'm feeding my mind more than my body when I wake up," he said, "and most days it leaves me hungrier." There's something deeply spiritual about how we begin our day. Our minds are soft in the morning, still tender from sleep, still open. When we fill them with headlines, conflict, and comparison, we invite stress to sit at our table before grace has even had a chance to speak. We may not feel it right away, but it catches up in our breath and our tension, in the heaviness we carry without knowing why. The Bible reminds us in Lamentations, "The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning." That verse isn't just beautiful, it's instruction. Each morning is a chance to begin with God's peace, not the world's pressure. George decided to charge his phone outside the bedroom and start his day with quiet. Now he opens his Bible before anything else, even before breakfast. He says it doesn't make life easier, but it makes him stronger for the day. Less reactive, more steady. And he's noticed he doesn't feel as drained before lunch. In a world that races, choosing stillness is a radical kind of health. And now we come to another quiet culprit, one that might feel gentle on the surface, but robs the body of movement and momentum without us even realizing it. It feels harmless, even comforting. The temptation to stay in bed a little longer, especially when the body aches or the room is still quiet and dim. And after 70, when sleep often feels fragile and precious, those extra minutes can feel like a gift. She used to be up before dawn, sharp and spirited, always with her hair done and her clothes pressed. But over the last few years, Helen told me she began letting herself lie in bed longer after waking, especially on days when she had nowhere to go. But for many of us, lingering too long between waking and rising quietly drains the very energy we're hoping to restore. Let me tell you about Helen. She's 83 now and full of stories from her years as a school librarian. "I thought I was being gentle with myself," she told me, "but I started to feel more tired, not less." Psalm 5 says, "In the morning, Lord, you hear my voice. In the morning, I lay my requests before you and wait expectantly." Her energy improved. And over time, it becomes a silent agreement with decline. But the truth is, each morning we rise is a chance to tell the body and the soul, "I'm still here. God still has breath in me." After 70, regular movement is one of the most powerful ways to preserve independence, sharpen the mind, and even protect the heart. Rain or shine, cold or warm, he'd lace up his sneakers and head out for a brisk 30-minute walk. He was proud of his discipline, and I admired him for it. That means we don't have as much quick fuel in the tank. Jumping into exercise too fast can strain tendons, cause joint pain, or create resistance in the very areas we're trying to strengthen. Exercising without eating anything first, even something small, puts stress on the muscles and heart. It triggers cortisol and adrenaline, especially in a fasting state. That includes the path of movement, not just where we walk, but how and when we walk. Even Jesus, who walked miles to reach others, often began his days in solitude and prayer before stepping into action. Lifting or chores, and then feeling drained, it might be time to rethink your rhythm. Listen to your body. It still whispers truth, even after all these years. We're not called to push ourselves blindly. We're called to care for the body that carries his light. That's fine for younger bodies, but for many of us past 70, it can lead to energy crashes, dizziness, or even irregular heartbeat. He still walked, but at a gentler pace. And when he got home, he felt energized instead of depleted. It wasn't about doing less, but carries a hidden spiritual and physical weight. a habit that drains not just energy, but dignity. It was about doing it wisely. But after a few months, Harold started feeling lightheaded, especially near the end of his walks. His legs would feel weak, his heart would race, and by lunchtime, he was so exhausted that he'd lie down and sometimes nap through the afternoon. But what we don't always hear is this: timing matters. And for some of us, especially those with slower mornings, exercising too early, before eating or preparing the body, can quietly rob us of energy instead of building it. Her thinking got clearer. Her mornings felt steadier. It wasn't magic. It was rhythm, sacred rhythm. She placed her Bible and glasses on her nightstand the night before and decided that when she opened her eyes, instead of turning over and drifting back into thought, she would sit up, take a breath, and read a single psalm out loud. Then she'd stand, stretch her arms toward the ceiling, and thank God for her body, even if it felt a little creaky. Rising with intention, even slowly and gently, sets a tone of purpose. It's not about rushing. It is about honoring the newness of the day and responding to God's quiet invitation to live. And she was right. The body has rhythms, and when we wake and then stay still for too long, those rhythms get confused. Cortisol, the hormone that helps us wake up and get moving, loses its natural surge. Blood pressure stays low. Circulation slows. Muscles stiffen. And mentally, we stay in a fog, neither asleep nor truly awake. What feels like rest often becomes stagnation. Spiritually, too, those first few moments of wakefulness matter more than we think. Helen made one small change. It's not about forcing myself, she told me. It's about joining the day instead of hiding from it. And what happened? Staying in bed can feel kind, but it can also feed discouragement. Next, we're going to talk about a habit that sounds healthy, but can actually backfire when done too early, especially before the body is ready to receive it. We've all heard it. Move your body, keep your strength, stay active. And it's true. My old friend Harold, 76, made a commitment to walk every morning before breakfast. I thought I was doing the right thing, he said, but I felt worse, not better. What Harold didn't know is that in older age, the body wakes up with lower glycogen stores. There's also the issue of warmth. As we age, our muscles and joints need more time to transition from stillness to movement. The Bible tells us in Proverbs 4, "Give careful thought to the paths for your feet, and be steadfast in all your ways." When Harold adjusted his routine, starting with a glass of water, a banana, and a few minutes of light stretching near the window, everything changed. God honors movement, but he also honors preparation. So if you've been trying to get it over with first thing in the morning, whether it is walking, and now we come to the final habit, one that disguises itself as routine. It might seem like a small thing. Who cares what we look like when we're just at home, alone, with no one to impress? Pajamas stay on, hair stays undone, slippers shuffle into the kitchen. And before we know it, it's 11 in the morning, and we haven't brushed our hair, washed our face, or changed a thing from the night before. He shared that after his wife passed, he stopped getting dressed in the morning. What was the point? He said, "I wasn't going anywhere, and no one was coming over." But over time, he noticed something else. He felt slower, more forgetful, and emotionally stuck. His energy dipped, and even his appetite faded. Mornings felt heavy, like he was stuck in a fog he couldn't name. But here's what no one tells you. That habit quietly drains the soul. He needed restored dignity. I met Richard at a small Bible study group last year. He's 80, widowed, and soft-spoken. When we treat our body with care, we awaken something holy. A reminder that we are still here, still chosen, still bearing light. Stand before the mirror. Breathe. Dress. Bless yourself with attention. Not because anyone is watching, but because God is. And he still delights in you. And spirit that life is on pause, that there's no expectation, no movement forward, no reason to rise to the occasion. And over time, that message seeps into the body. If something in this message touched you, I'll ask you to stay with me just a bit longer. Would you take a moment to comment the word renew below? Just that, renew. Let it be a sign to yourself and to others that you are claiming your mornings again, that you are choosing life over exhaustion, awareness over autopilot, and God's rhythm over the world's rush. Small choices, done with care and intention, can bring back strength where there was weakness, light where there was fog, and peace where there was tension. Psalm 92 says, "They will still bear fruit in old age. They will stay fresh and green." Let your first act be one of dignity. Let your first breath be one of gratitude. Sometimes what truly drains us is not what we do, but what we carry. Lay it down. Breathe deep. Begin again. Let your first thought be, God, thank you for this day. Help me walk in it with strength. That promise wasn't written for the strong or the young. It was written for the faithful. You do not need to overhaul your life. You only need to begin gently with one change at a time and let the Spirit guide your steps. Like this video, share it with someone who might be struggling with tired mornings or quiet discouragement. The first breath that reminds us, I'm still here. These moments are not small. They are altars. And what we place on them, even something as simple as a glass of water or a whispered prayer, can shape the whole day. Sometimes all it takes is a gentle word to lift someone out of a habit that's been silently stealing their joy. Muscles become inactive. Posture collapses. The mirror becomes a stranger. And hope, little by little, begins to slip away. Every morning, he began his day with a prayer, then brushed his teeth, washed his face, put on clean clothes, and combed his hair. He even laid out his clothes the night before, like he used to when he worked at the post office. After a few weeks, he said something I'll never forget. Richard didn't need a new vitamin or another doctor visit. When we stop preparing ourselves for the day, we unconsciously signal to the mind, not just spirits, bodies. And throughout Scripture, appearance is connected to reverence. Priests washed and prepared themselves before service. David anointed his head and changed his clothes when his morning turned to movement. These actions mattered not for others, but for themselves, for the soul. But dignity isn't about fashion or impressing others. It's about honoring the image of God in us, even when we're alone. In Genesis, when God created humanity, He gave us bodies formed by His own hands. Richard made a change. I don't feel younger, but I feel alive again. That's the power of reclaiming the morning. Not for vanity, but for vitality. So if you've fallen into the habit of letting your reflection go unseen, or your day begin in a fog of passivity, take this as a gentle invitation. Now that we've walked through these 5 habits together, I want to speak to your heart. Shall I continue with the call to action and final conclusion? My friend, if even one of these morning habits sounded familiar, I want you to know this. You are not alone, and it is not too late to change. If this message stirred something in you, a memory, a conviction, a quiet nudge, I'd love to ask something from the heart. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to this channel. You matter. Your days matter. Your mornings matter. There is something sacred about how the day begins. The light slowly touching the window. The quiet before noise returns. God doesn't need you to be perfect. He delights in your presence, your effort, your heart turned toward Him. So tomorrow morning, when you rise, rise with purpose. And if the day is hard, if your body feels slow or your spirit feels weary, remember, energy is not just physical. Your mornings still have meaning. Your life still echoes purpose. And your quiet steps, even now, are seen by the one who renews all things. I'm so glad you spent this time with me. Until next time, may your mornings be lighter, your spirit stronger, and your days full of grace.